everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everyone, to the Wake the Nation and Tell the People. Okay. Hello. We are live this evening and we are grateful here. Uh, Here I am. My name is Florencia Chang-Ageda. I am a mom. I am an advocate. I am a community advocate. I'm a people advocate, okay? Not just for my community, but for all communities. I also minister the word and just God's daughter. And next, Crystal, could you introduce yourself, please?
Hi everyone, I'm Crystal Collier, mom and an HR professional.
Thank you and welcome. And next we have Mrs. Thais Love.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sahis Love. I am a um, mental health and wellness coach um, and a uh, certified energy health practitioner as well. And I'm just so glad to be here and so glad to see all of you. I too am a mom, wife. Um, I'm a minister, chaplain, deacon. Um, Shout out to all of uh, my friends and family. Um, and I'm just glad to be here. Thank you.
Okay, welcome, welcome. She wears many hats, folks, and we're glad to have Mrs. Collier and Mrs. Love. And now we have Miss Kamali Vernon. Can you introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Kamali Vernon. I am her daughter, and I'm also a student and artist.
Well, welcome. We welcome you. We welcome you. So, this is our first airing of the Wake the Nation and Tell the People. And we have many, 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 many topics to come. However, our first topic tonight, we'll be dealing with gender disparities in education and the workforce. So, before we start, however, I'd like to just take a moment. Can we just bow our head in silence for all those who have lost their lives, to COVID? All righty. Well, it's really sad that so many people have lost their lives and people are still losing their lives, but we keep praying, we keep trusting God, okay? And we pray for the families who have lost loved ones that they will be comforted. The Bible tells us, comfort ye, O comfort ye. So we pray that they will be comforted. So tonight, I want to read a little excerpt before we start. In 2018, there was an article in the New York Daily News which said that the New York City department data showed that fewer girls than boys were accepted to the city's top schools that year. It also stated that two of the 14,513 girls that were tested and passed, only 2,240 female students were accepted to the city's top public schools, whereas there was such a disparity between the boys, the males that were accepted. At the time, Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams, who is now running for mayor, he said, "It is unacceptable to say you care about gender and racial diversity and then fail to produce any semblance of equity in the number of female, Black, and Latino test takers and admitted students," he added. Those specialized schools were Bronx Science, Manhattan Stuyvesant, Brooklyn Tech, the specialized high schools admission testing, that are were affiliated with that, as well as Fiorella LaGuardia High School of Music and Arts and the Performing Arts. So Also, what was stated in that article was that 527 Black students were accepted into the program. So I want to ask the question this evening. Have you experienced gender disparities in school? So I'll start with myself. Growing up, I wasn't educated in my early education in New York, but I did go to college here. But when I went to high school in Jamaica, I remember enrolling in agricultural science, which they said was for the boys. And the teacher fought for us to leave the class. Even after we had completed our midterm exams and we had gotten high, it was only 3 females that was in the class, and we had gotten high grades. And he fought, he went to the principal and he really fought for us to go to take home economics. But we didn't want to do home economics. But in the end, actually, they escorted us to the home ec center for us to go join with the students to learn how to bake and to sew. This is after midterms. And I mean, they were preparing for finals when he finally kicked us out of the class. So, you know, but that was what I faced. And I just want to know, we're bringing this up because we want parents to be aware of what's going on in their schools. So I turn it over. Who would like to state of any gender disparity that you face, whether in elementary school, high school, or college level or graduate level, whichever level you faced it?
Well, with me, um, I I didn't face gender disparity or discrimination, but well, I did, but it was in my favor. When I went to college, I attended Hunter College, and there I had first entered as a computer science major. I wanted to be a systems analyst at the time. But then I changed my major after several battles with Calculus 2. And, uh, you know, couldn't get past Calculus 2. And so I wound up changing my major to sociology and economics, minoring in Black and Puerto Rican studies. And but I did notice that when I was in the computer science classes, you know, and calculus, most of my classmates were Asian males in the class, and even my teacher was an Asian male. But when I switched over to the sociology major, there were a lot of people at the time. You had to get your degree in sociology. There was no bachelor's in social work at the time. In fact, sociology was considered a liberal arts degree. So you got we were all going for a bachelor's of arts in sociology so that we can go into the social work field. And there were a lot more women in female students in that major in my classes. But there still was not a lot of Black female students in my classes. I went to Hunter College in the late 80s, and there was at the time the college was 60% Black, and then it was something, I believe it was something like 35% white, and then the other 15% was other, including Asian, Latino students, Filipino, like that. And even though Hunter College was 60% um, uh, Black students, you did not see the Black students in the regular classes. Most of those Black students were in the remedial courses, trying to get past that.
May I ask you, why do you think that was, though? That most of the Black students were in remedial classes? Because I just want to say this, when I migrated here, I was told that I had to do remedial classes. And I wanted to know why. I was like, then I'm not going to college because I already had my O-level degrees, which we in the West Indies, we do the exam that's sent to us from the United Kingdom. And so we're tested on a higher level, in for our high schools. So I thought, well, when they told me what the remedial class was about, actually a lady that was at the what do you call when you go to register, she asked that someone give me a test, and they said, oh no, you don't need to do the remedial classes. But yeah, so why do you think that is?
Um, uh, you know, what they do here is that they in high school, well, right after high school or like in your senior year, you take what is called a college entrance exam.
Oh, okay.
And that exam tests to see how well you were you know trained and educated at the high school that you were in.
Okay.
And so some high schools prepared you for college where your whole your whole 4-year curriculum, you took enough science and language, ample enough years of math, ample enough years of English and literature, so that when you got to college and you would take college entry level courses. And but a lot of high schools, even though the students spent 4 years there, they very often didn't prepare the students for college level classes. That's what they said, and was the justification and for even having a college entrance exam. Me, when I was in high school, I graduated with a Regents diploma, meaning that I took a test in every subject matter. So I had 4 years of science, 4 years of math, 4 years of a language, 4 years of English and literature. Okay, and so I came in, very much prepared for college entry level, but other high schools did not always provide or make it mandatory for a student to take 4 years of English or literature, 4 years of math, 4 years of a science. They didn't always do that. And those were the requirements in order for you to come into college and operate on a college level. Those were the requirements. So what they often did was they would have you take the college entrance exam, and with the Black students, a lot of them did not make the grade on the college entrance exam that they needed to have in order to demonstrate that they were able to operate on a college entry level course level. Okay. And so once you, like, if you didn't have 4 years of math, let's say, maybe you had 3 years of math. I knew a lot of students that had 3 years of math in high school. They would take that exam and they didn't make the exam tested you on 4 years of math. And so because they were missing that fourth year, they didn't score, on the test, and they were immediately told you have to take remedial math. And so they would have to take an additional year of math just to make up for the year that they didn't take in the fourth year that they didn't take in high school. They have to do it now in college.
Okay.
And then after that they would go ahead and take entry level college math courses.
Okay. So, well, thank you. Thank you for sharing your experience. Now, Crystal, have you faced gender disparities in education or not?
I don't feel like I have, but then again, at that age, I wasn't exactly aware of it.
Okay.
I want to
Then that
say
makes
that I
sense.
was sort of shielded from it because I was oblivious at the moment, and it wasn't a conversation at home, so it wasn't in my mind. But I'll say that I do know when I was in elementary school, I went to the gifted and talented program, and we had honors and we had SP classes, and I was between both. So I did that in middle school and I did that in high school. So I was always separate from a different group of kids, always. And I got the Regents diploma, and I had taken the SP classes for economics, math, Spanish, and English, but in high school. So I was well prepared for college. But so I can also see what you're saying, how other students weren't prepared because they didn't have that experience. Um, but I will say that I know, and this might be a whole nother conversation, but I know when kids in, let's say, elementary school, middle school, or high school, when they are struggling in some area, I think that teachers or the system is so quick to push them towards special education.
Yes.
And there's that struggle there of once you're in, getting out. And I think that follows you somehow, even if it was one
Yes.
area that you were struggling in. So by the time they get to college and they look at your record, they're like, oh, well, remedial classes all the way. So I think that sort of hurts us as well. And I think that's something to examine too, the disparities there in just in education on that level, in special education, and what number of the kids get out, gender, and unfortunately I also look at race, because I do think that white children, they aged them out or they pushed them out of special education, and somehow we get stuck. People of color get stuck there. Um, so that's really where what I've seen. And when I was in middle school, I went to Stuyvesant High School every year, 3 days a week after school and for the whole summer, because they wanted me to come there. So they were preparing me to take the exam in middle school.
Wow.
So that experience was one that I can glean from now, because when I look back, I don't want to say I've seen many people of color in there, maybe 3 or 4 in my grade level, but I will say it was predominantly male.
Wow.
So that experience, when I look back on it, I can sort of see, but at the time it didn't affect me. So maybe something did happen that I just paid no mind to, but there definitely was a gender disparity. I think most of them were Asian that were in that program.
Wow. Wow. Thank you, Crystal, for sharing your experience. How about you, Kamali? You've been through a number of programs. You've been in. Go ahead. How about you?
Yeah. Yeah, I too had, similar experiences to Crystal and Isla. Regents diploma, doing special classes, AP classes, and gifted and talented programs, things like that. And just to kind of echo what Crystal was saying, there is, even if it's not the main topic for the night, but that there is that racial component, right? Because we know that unfortunately from a young age, like elementary school, they put kids on tracks. And it's like, if they
Yes.
say, okay, this child is performing well, gifted and talented, they're on that track upwards, right? They're going to get they're going to go to the right schools, they're going to get a proper education. But those who already start failing, or those who are pulled into kind of special education or anything like that, they, as you said, it sticks with them because that's like the track they expect you to stay on, and that's where they place you. So I didn't learn that until many years later. But it's terrible that they do that, and unfortunately, it's a lot of brown kids, Black and Hispanic kids who are pulled into that situation. But speaking gender-wise, in my experience, yeah, initially when I went to college, it was for architecture, and that is a primarily male field. Sometimes I do wish I stuck with it because I think the number now, it's almost 500 Black women architects in the country. I remember it being
Wow.
like 300 before. Yeah, you would think it would be more with the
Yeah.
amount of people here, but it's a dominated field, and there's also not a lot of Black women in that field specifically. But yeah, I serve the guys in my program. I also remember someone who, personally, who kind of, when they asked what I was going to school for, and I told them, they expressed disbelief and was just like, "Really? Like you, architecture? Like okay." And there is kind of that thing where they don't expect, most people don't expect women to go into computer science or engineering or architecture, any of those things. And I think it's something that's slowly changing the more that like STEM is being promoted and in schools, and you see a whole lot more young girls who are like, yeah, I want to code and I want to, go to school for things like this. And I think that that's amazing.
Yeah, thank you. And she didn't tell you that she actually worked for an architectural firm, and they one day I went to visit, and her boss showed me plans of what Kamali worked on. There's a building right here in Brooklyn that she worked on. The proof is right there. Without a degree, might I say. But that was God. That's all God. That's God. It's right by Albany and what's that, Clarkson? Yeah, there are two
I think so.
buildings.
It's two
Yeah,
buildings.
right
Yeah.
there. Yeah, two buildings. Yeah. So to God be the glory. But yeah, we do see and what we just want to bring awareness to parents who are sending their children to school to realize that education really, like, there are disparities, especially for Black and brown kids, and females as well. So your female child has extra issues to deal with, and that sometimes when your children come home from school really stressed, just sit down, have a sit down and talk with them. And if you can spend time with your children, spend time with them, because you do not know the added pressures that they're going through. And you're hearing from folks who've been through the system. I advocated, I was on the Community Education Council, and I also taught in this school system. So I've realized, wow, education isn't equal across board, and it's a mess. It's not something that we can fix right now, but the more aware we become, the more I believe that we can have an input and make a change. What do you say, ladies? Do you agree? Do you
I
think?
agree.
I
I agree.
agree. I think, with that knowledge, that will lead more people to action and to kind of do whatever they can to make sure that, our kids in our communities are getting what they should get.
Yeah.
Yeah. As a parent of 5 boys,
Mm.
well, they're old men now, but um,
They're not old men.
coming up, because I understood very early on that, about those tracks that they set the children on. I knew, having 5 sons, that you know, them going to college, they had a lot to face, in order to get there. I had a lot of hurdles to climb. When I was going to college, it was more women at my college than men.
Yes, that one too.
And you know, the men that did start out in college, they wound up leaving because they had gotten their job already before graduating college. It was the women that, wound up staying there the 4 or the 5 years or however long it took so that they can get that degree, because they understood that they needed to have that degree in order to even, get an entry level job in certain fields, particularly. But definitely they had to have that degree in order to be accepted and to even begin to ask for pay somewhere in the ballpark of someone that has a degree. And so, knowing that when I was going to college, there were men that went to college, but they didn't graduate. And so the college that I went to prided itself on how many female graduates they had. The emphasis was on graduates. But, starting out, it was still more male. But the ones that started, they didn't finish, but the women graduated. So, and knowing that, and it's still a little bit like that now, that, you know, the males go to college, but they very often do not finish. And I took that into consideration when, as I was having my children, I tried to, make sure that they got the most training and everything that would prepare them for college, so that they would not only go to college, but they would complete college. And I was really glad that, my sons, they all did. They went through the same specialized, the gifted and talented programs and everything that I went through. And they were able, all of them were prepared for college. And but out of my 5 sons, 2 of them went to college and graduated. 2 of them, 4 of them went to college. Yes, 4 of them went to college. 2 of them graduated. The other 2 did not graduate. And it was because they got jobs, and they were like, I'm gonna work,
So it's all right.
yeah,
But as long as they're doing something productive, because we know that there are people who have lucrative businesses, millionaires, billionaires, that never completed a college degree. So, it doesn't, as long as you're doing something productive. It's all
right. But my point was that, the track for
Right.
going towards prison
Mm,
was, set up so
yeah.
that our particularly Black males, they would go on that track.
Yeah.
And so
No.
I tried to make sure that they didn't get put on that track. In
That's
fact,
right.
you know, they were, I remember my oldest, he was in kindergarten going to first grade, and he got his teacher decided to test him and give him an IQ test.
Mm.
Without my permission, without my
Consent?
knowledge.
Really?
She just, you know, she noticed he was a bright kid or whatever, and she sent him to get an IQ test. And then because he scored so high on the IQ test, this is in kindergarten, they notified me, oh, your child has scored exceptionally high on this IQ test, and so we are classifying him as gifted uh, slash genius. And so you needed to know that, so that, you know, as you consider his education, he needs to be in schools that will be able to teach him on his IQ level.
Mm.
And they tested my firstborn without my knowledge or anything. He went to a mixed uh, elementary school, and you know, some of the white parents, you know, they pushed for, you know, that kind of thing. um they didn't even like the fact that, you know, in that elementary school, there were gifted and talented classes, and there was a lot of Black students in that class, and they went to school right alongside of the white students. And a lot of those white parents did not want their children to be in the same classroom with Black students. But and so they advocated for, you know, well, have my child tested. I know my child is a genius, you know, so have my child tested. And they tried to justify making a separate classroom, you know, for only gifted students, you know, that scored high on that IQ test. They tried to do that so that they could separate their kids from the Black students at that school, but it wound up backfiring because the Black students were scoring so high that they filled up the gifted and talented classes, at which squeezed out the white children who were not scoring as high. And so it worked, you know, that kind of worked in my son's favor. And so, you know, once he got tested and he was in the class, they automatically tested my other children that came through that same school. And
Yeah.
they had their spot already, you know, waiting for them in the gifted class. And then some of the white parents had an issue with that, because they were like, oh, my child didn't get a chance, or they weren't prepared. You giving the test out in kindergarten, they didn't get a chance to get prepared. That was the point. You know, you're supposed to be testing the natural IQ of the child, you know. But
I,
anyway.
I want thank you. I wanted to ask you, Crystal, were you tested without your parents' knowledge of yeah?
I was. Um, I was tested a few times.
Yeah.
I think it was my fourth grade teacher. I don't remember her name, but she was the. I remember they were pulling me for something, and she told them to stop. I don't remember what it was for because I was just oblivious at the time, but she told them to stop.
Yeah. You know, my children were all three of my children were tested, and I remember them getting tested without my knowledge, and then me getting the results and being told that, oh, they're genius level or whatever. I'll tell you something, they were all recommended for the Montessori Now they're gonna know, my daughter's gonna know. They were recommended for the Montessori school, which I was like, and what is this school about? And I actually had taken them, and then I won't even discuss why I decided no, but I just decided no.
I know
And
all too well. I know all too well. I
and
did the same thing.
so, they went, I mean, Kamali, let me ask you, because Kamali also went to, she was in the gifted program. Do you remember when you went to the Academy for City Hall or City Hall Academy? How was your experience there?
I, I do. It's funny you mentioned we were tested. I'm like, I don't even remember.
Yes, you were. Yes, 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 you were.
I'm impressed with everyone else's memory of like, yes, I remember I was tested when I was younger. I'm like, oh, that's okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
and
yeah.
recommended for Montessori.
Yeah, so in middle school, we went to the City Hall Academy, which was a great experience. It was like our same, class from school. I went to Huddy. They just like took us to a part of City Hall where it was like a learning environment. It was pretty cool, and it was a great experience being there. I listen. That was middle school. I don't remember the details. But it was good. I do remember like I enjoyed it, and like I knew that it was something, special, and yeah,
Yeah,
I appreciate
that
that I had
was
that experience.
that was the part of school she enjoyed. High school, not sure, but you've had great opportunities, even though the schools to which you went, some of them weren't that great. I think sometimes I basically taught my children to have a certain kind of study ethic. And when all of my children went to uh, pre-K, they could spell their names, knew their names, and knew their ABCs and one, two, threes. No one went into school not knowing anything. So it was just that kind of thing where I thought that I had to prepare my children. And then later, as I started to teach in the school system, I realized that that was God's divine leading for me personally, because whew, all kids come in with a prior knowledge is what they know, and then what you have to teach them, what's according to the curriculum and all of that. But so today, Miss Love, you talked about your sons getting jobs, and so we're going to come back. As a matter of fact, not today, not on this episode, but on another episode, we're going to talk about some issues that you probably never knew happened in New York City right here. But there's some things with our school education that we want to address. We'll devote the whole time to that. But today, as we talked about disparities in the workforce, I would like to read a quote from, well, not a quote, but Letitia James just last week said that, that she is New York's Attorney General. She said that women, actually, it is her quote. So let me read her quote. It says, women are still getting paid less for doing the same work as men. She also, and then she stated that the pay gap is worse for women of color. So, uh, I know that Deacon Minister Love, you talked about two of your sons getting jobs, and we know that sometimes kids are forced out of school. Back when, there were folks who had to go to work to support their families, so they'd have to stop their education. And as a matter of fact, in some countries, in Asian countries, in India and China and many other Eurasian countries, they and Africa, we cannot forget Africa, many women do not get an education. And if they do, by the time they get to age 12, in some systems, they're married off. In some, they have to go to work to support their families. So, and you would think that it would be the responsibility of the male child, but they would rather educate the male children and let the female either bear children or do work to support the family. So how do you feel about that? And I would like Crystal, if you, Crystal's, you mentioned working in HR. Would you like to address that? And then, the rest of you can jump in.
Well, there's a lot of history that I think comes with the way things are right now. And for one, I'll just say that Black women, I know we're not doing race, I don't want to leave it there, but
Oh, we're Black.
African American women are the last. We're lagging behind white men, Black men, white women, and then we are. So there is a serious gap across all levels of business and organization where you see us. And I don't know if you notice, due to everything that's happened in the last couple of years, every diversity and inclusion officer, director, they're all Black.
Wow.
Why is that? They strategically choose a minority to head up that office. So, I mean, in some senses it makes sense, and in some senses it's just like,
I see
are
Kamala.
you, why is that the token sort of position, right, for us? And it's usually a Black woman. And organizations really need to look at how they're choosing their senior team. And, for me, I do like to see, when I look for work or anything of that nature, where we are and on the leadership team. It's always a good thing, I think, that people should get in the habit of, because one, you want to, because of so many things that have happened. And like I said, from education, there have been plenty of times where I felt out of place. And then because of EEO, the EEOC, the Equal Opportunity Commission, they sort of have to put us in those places. And then, it's always awkward. So you will meet plenty of, African Americans who have that experience where they're the only one and they're mistreated in that token spot. But I also believe that, just gender wise, well, this just came to mind. Did you ever hear that the New York City subway system, right? When it gives directions, when it's telling you something to do, it's a male's voice.
Really?
When it's asking you to do something, it's a female voice.
What?
They don't want to take directions from a female.
That's
Subway, I do not know.
Look it up. They don't want to take directions from a female.
Really?
And that's why they did the voices the way they are. You will never hear him telling you what to do in a female voice. And that is a whole nother conversation.
Wow.
That is wild. I'm
Yes,
like, put it in my head like the stand clear of the closing doors. Please, like
Yep.
that's the male voice.
Right. When they're telling you it's a male voice. When it's asking you to do something, it's a female voice.
Wow.
So this is deep, 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 deep. But I do want to say this, that as women, we need to know our worth and ask for it.
Yes.
And there's something called honest overconfidence that men have that women don't. Whereas when we look for work, we look to check all the boxes. Men don't. They want the job, they apply for the job. And sad to say, they get it a lot of the times. Or even when we get into that position, we ask, the salaries that we ask for are way beneath, what they would offer someone else.
Wow.
So for me, it really is, and like I said, that conversation can go real deep, but we do have to know our worth, do our research, check what the job is paying in your city, in the same industry, and be sure to ask for
Yeah.
your worth. Don't be afraid to ask the salary for a position. And
Wow.
and it's just, it's sad, because some companies are strategic in doing that, hiring a woman just so that they can save money. And being in that position, I see it happen in HR.
Wow.
So, you know, we have to know, we really, really have to know our worth.
Yes, we
Even
do.
as Black women, um, there the gap is serious. And being in HR, I've seen them challenge a Black woman or just a woman in general. And when a male comes in, no matter what color he is, his opinion, his voice is not challenged.
Wow.
It's
Mhm.
word is bond. So there's a lot to unpack in there.
You know, as you said that, I remember having a friend, and he's a male white, and he went for a job, and he didn't know anything about the job, but he got the job. And you know that you've had qualified Black women that haven't gotten the job, or have been told. I remember going for positions that I was told I was overqualified, you know, and
Me too.
I've, I've been, I remember um, on the phone uh, being given an appointment to come in. And when I got there, person said, "Oh, you're Black." And then the position was filled. Yeah,
Mhm.
like that. But, you know, that's, Kamali, were you going to say something?
Yes. So two things came to mind in what when Crystal was speaking. The first one was a story that I read a couple months ago, and it was a Black woman who worked at Google. So she was, what was she? A diversity like recruiter, but she got fired. And apparently,
Yes.
it's like she did her job too well because she
Yes.
brought in over 300 Black people from HBCUs, right?
Yes.
And it's like suddenly she's fired, and it's like she was doing her job. You know what I mean? And it's like, so what reason did you have to fire her? It's just really wild. But the second thing I was gonna say is when you talked about that, what was the term? Honest,
Honest
Overconfidence.
confidence. Mhm.
right? You know, unfortunately, I'm one of those people who feels like I need to check every box. I remember I was applying, or I was being recommended for jobs, and I would look at the requirements, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not, I can't apply to that. Like, I didn't even finish college, you know, and I wouldn't. And, you know, people I know would tell me, like, just apply. Like, there are people applying who have less work experience than you, who have you know what I mean? And so it's like, I personally didn't feel like I had what it, you know, what it took on paper. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, I kind of have this, I have that, I don't have that. So I don't think I'm going to apply. And so that's part of the reason why I went back to school, because I feel like I'll feel a little bit better. Like I'll feel like I have like a solid ground to stand on with that degree, you know? So yeah, that's something that I'm learning, and I'm hoping to kind of embody that kind of like, you know, I've done the work, so just apply, you know. There's really no harm in like just putting yourself out there and applying, because like if you have what it takes, like you're set, rather than trying to like check every single box and then disqualifying yourself, you know.
Yeah, and she's more than capable, guys. She's been at the mayor's office, TA assistant at Columbia. What? She could do a lot. And the Brooklyn Museum, yeah. And her work, it was actually published in the New York Times. So she does have some, yeah, I know you won't say it, but I'm saying it, okay, because
Right. And
just encourage your sister Crystal, encourage her.
and just remember, she was raised to be confident, to be
Thank you.
her, she was raised in a wonderful, loving home. Imagine the women who have what she has
Oh,
that
you're
weren't.
right. Mm, you're
Um,
right. God, Deacon.
and, and I mean, regardless if you have that honest, overconfident
Confidence, yeah.
attitude or not, being a woman, being a Black woman, you almost expect to be challenged.
Yes.
So when you go in for those positions, I was taught you come in over ready. You
Mm,
kind of anticipate the questions that they're going to ask. If you don't have all the boxes checked, you already come in with being willing to argue your strong points that would offset the boxes that were not checked. At least that's the way I
And then they
had
look at
approached
us
it.
like we're arrogant.
Right. Because I have gone in and gotten jobs that I didn't have experience in.
how did
I'm
you do that? Tell us how you did that. How did that happen?
a very fast learner. And I knew that from
Yeah,
when
we
I was
are.
a child. I'm a very fast learner. So if I looked at the job and I thought, well, I know a little bit about that. And so and they can show me the rest. Like I only had to see it one time. Or in your explaining to me what the task was, I got it like that. So I will walk in, I've done it many times, walk in cold, you know, and come in with my resume, and you know I would have some of the things on there, but when they asked me, well, we're looking for someone to have this box checked and that box checked, I would have a rebuttal or something to offset. Well, okay, you might think you need someone with that box checked and this box checked, but I have this over here, and I'm
Mm,
bringing this
yeah.
addition to the table.
There you
Okay,
go.
did you consider this? Because it's not even in, these boxes that you got checked here.
Right.
And I would simply convince them that you need what I'm bringing to the table more so than you need that box over there to be checked.
Yeah.
And they would give me the job. But I have been told also that, well, you're overqualified. I see that you're coming in on an entry level position or mid management level position, but I can clearly see that you're going to operate on upper management
Yes. Yes.
level. So I'm not going to hire you because then I will lose my job. And I'm not trying to do that. So I've been told that. And so also, when you come in as a woman, a little bit overly confident, at least that's the way you're perceived, you're termed aggressive, you're
Mm.
termed arrogant, you're termed
Difficult.
they difficult. Yes, like they know that because of the way you came in to get the job, they figure, okay, she's not going to go for the okey doke, she's
Mm.
not even going to accept instruction well, you know she's on her way up the ladder, she's a go-getter. And so I don't know if we want the likes of her around. She will offset the employee sentiment around here. That's a
Mhm.
rebel rouser right there. So I don't know if we want her. Or they would hire me, but then put me somewhere separate from most people. I've also had jobs where I was the token, okay? And being the token, they would make sure that, I was seated, my desk was somewhere where I could be seen,
Wow.
first, soon as you walk into the office, there's my desk, so that you could see right away, oh, we diversified. See, we got,
Not really.
we have a minority here. Look, right there. You can't miss her, and then, so I've been that, and in being that, I was told, well, you got the job because you qualified, not because we're trying to fill a quota. Well, if that's the case, then how
There was
come
no
it's
need
only
to
one
say
of me?
that.
Yeah,
And there
but
was no need to say that either.
and I was, being the only one, I was told that, well, you're not like the others.
Oh, I've heard that.
You're not like the,
Whatever that
so that I would, to try to discourage me, maybe trying to connect with some other folk on the same floor, but maybe on the other side of the building and stuff like that. They wanted to keep us, separated and stuff like that. And then even what my white colleagues that were female, they didn't even connect with me. They would come to me, when they needed to, sway the vote, in their favor, not mine. That's when they would come to me. But other than that, they just kind of left me by myself. And so I would just operate, as an island. I remember I had one job where I was told that I was selected because I had nice legs.
What? Wait a minute. What does that have to do with the price of tea in China?
I worked for a bank. I'm not gonna call the bank out because the bank is still in existence, but under a different name. But the president of that branch, I'm not gonna call his name just in case he's still around, but he was Irish, and he was the president of that branch, and he was married. He was a functional alcoholic, and he was from Ireland, actually, but he came over here because of the position. And even though he was married, he did not regard his marriage too tough. Okay, he would have it was nothing for him to with some of the secretaries and everything, the female staff, if they walked by, he would pat them on their butt, and she was supposed to be flattered by that, or took that as a sign of, oh, you're doing a good job, or I approve of you, and that would carry on. Now, he never touched me, but and I was married and everything, but he that bank at the time had had a dress code, okay, and which they gave each employee an allowance
uniform,
to buy suits that were in certain colors that was our uniform.
Some banks banks do that. Some
yeah.
banks do that.
And so whenever we had a staff meeting where the president was going to be there, he would request that all of the women wear skirts, wear their skirt suit. He didn't want the women to wear pantsuit. Okay, he was a leg man straight up. And he would sit us in a circle. And we would, it was a number of us, you know, so men and women, and we would sit in a circle, and it would be like 2, maybe 3 rows of us in a circle. So it'd be like, you know, 3, you know, the inner circle, the next circle, and the next circle, like that. And he would tell you where to sit. And he
Really?
chose, yeah, he chose, like in his office, he, you know, he had people sit at desks that were within his eye view.
Line, yeah.
You know, and if he didn't find you attractive, he would have you sit way in the back somewhere, or in the corner somewhere,
Wait.
where he didn't have
Nobody
to
said
look at you.
anything about this? Wow.
No. In fact, we had one employee, female employee. She did sue for sexual harassment. And it was a you know, Caucasian lady. She came there, but she came there on a mission. All right, she was on her way up the corporate ladder, and it didn't matter who she had sleep with to get there. And so when she was engaging with him, she had asked him for some money, and he denied her. She got mad, and then that's when she decided to blow the whistle on sexual harassment. But the others of us,
That makes no sense, though.
yeah,
Because
but
it's just sad to see women being anyway.
and whenever we had the staff meetings, he would ask me to sit towards the, you know, the inner circle, because that's where he was. And he wanted me to sit. I found out later he wanted me to sit in the inner circle. I thought because I'm the token, you know, he wanted to make sure the token was present. You know, that's what I thought. But I found out that he liked looking at my legs. And so he wanted, during the meeting, he wanted to be able to, you know, see my legs, you know, amongst the other legs, you know, that he liked looking at. But, you know, yeah, we've made progress, but, you know, those were things that I went through as a Black woman. Okay. And I was told that, well, you know, you're seated where you're seated. Your desk is where it is. Just because he likes to watch you walk by. Now I wasn't within eye shot, but the way my desk was, every time I got up, you know, to, you know, go to the where the door was, or even the ladies' bathroom, I had to walk past his desk. So, you know, I had to walk past his office. And so whenever I walked past his office, you know, he'd stop doing whatever he was doing, and he'd get to watch my legs go by. That's all he wanted to look at. You know, pair of brown legs going by. So, but
I want to know what Crystal, or you know, who on here, know, what can a young woman do, or a person who's working in an office, because especially during these times where we know there are different organizations that you can report this to, because most times I believe it's not reported because fear of losing the job. And you know, if you're a single mom, or if your family is depending on you because sometimes, you know, you have a young person who start out working, their parents might be depending on them, or their mom, they might have elderly parents, or, you know, or siblings. I've known folks who took care of all their siblings. You know, one young lady, she had like, I think 7 siblings to take care of. And so in a situation like that, you know, they're not going to want to do anything. So what do you think someone who finds themselves in a situation like this in our current, you know, especially with being COVID affecting, you know, what's going on, you hear of what's happening up in Albany and everywhere. What do you think of a person can do if they're facing something like that and afraid that they'll lose their job? Is there a recourse? Because we're not just talking about these issues just, you know, to have no kind of solution or somewhere referral, you know. But so what do you think? Who should they turn to? Is it the union or what?
Well, I think for one, it does depend on where you are. In
Okay.
some states, it kind of deters people because if you report sexual harassment or an EEO complaint and it comes back unfounded, they'll charge you with a misdemeanor.
Really?
Oh,
Did not know.
They've,
wow.
they've implemented that because at certain points, they were getting so many. And so I would say, please, if you're going to report, have your evidence. If you're going to report anything, please have cold, hard, unrefutable evidence. Um, you know, they say that even during these times, it's impossible to find jobs. It really isn't. You just have to be persistent. Jobs are out there
Yeah.
every day. You know, they're posting. You know, go to reputable sources to look. And if you feel really that uncomfortable, you have to leave. You know, and there is, if you've reported it to the organization, you have to report it to the organization. And like I said, have evidence, email, documentation that you've reported this. Um, and then if you do lose your job because you reported it or you said something, there is the opportunity for you to still get unemployment if you claim it as a uh, 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 what's the word? It just was in my head. It's a
It'll come
something
back.
discharge. It's something
Okay.
discharge, and what that means is it's constructive discharge.
Mm.
And what that means is you're in a toxic environment. You reported it. They've done nothing, and they left you no other choice.
Okay.
Um,
Constructive discharge. Okay. New
constructive discharge. If
learn
it comes
something
to the
today.
point where you have to leave because something is harming you, you can leave and you'd still be eligible for unemployment if you write that letter as constructive discharge. And that really means they've left you no other choice. You could not work under those conditions.
Mhm.
Okay. Um, but I also encourage women and men, of course, if you find yourself in that situation, never stay anywhere more than 3 years if you haven't seen growth.
Mm.
5 years if you're really with a really good organization, but I also don't believe in giving that much of your life to somewhere that won't either give you a pay increase or some sort of merit. Um,
You know, I like what you just said, Crystal, about never staying more than 3 years if you're seeing no growth. Some companies will placate you by saying, "Oh, we're promoting you to become manager, but no laterally." So they slide you across, but then you get no pay. Like,
it's what I call the okey doke. They set you up for the okey doke. And some places they'll give you the pay, but not add anything to you in value.
oh, okay,
So then
gotcha.
what
So
can you
it's both
take
ways.
somewhere else to prove that you're worth what you were being paid. You got nothing.
Right.
So you want to look for the value that your current job is providing you, not just the salary. Sometimes,
Right.
they're different. Is that there really is? It goes both ways, like you just said. You wanna, if you get both, then that's great. But when you get something that's added to you, please know the difference in an employer adding more work.
Right. That's what I was just gonna say.
There's a huge difference between them giving you more work, and it might be different from what you're accustomed to. You could add it to your resume, but that's not growing you.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
There's a huge difference.
You need to say that again. Yeah, because some will do that. They will give you more work. They will not give you the pay, but they'll give you the work, thereby
that they're growing you, but you're not growing me. You're only giving me more work.
You're loading you down. It's like getting free labor.
Right. And I also want to say, please do your homework when you are interviewing, because 70% of women actually accept what's offered to them without negotiation. Less than 50% of men do that.
Wow.
So negotiate. If it means that you take care of your sick grandmother or a family member and you need more sick time, sometimes it's not salary. Ask for more sick time.
So you can negotiate. I like that. Oh, we have to do one on this. We have to do another episode.
Because you can say, listen, I don't want an issue down the line of my attendance. So once they've offered you a job, they can't take it back without a reason. They cannot rescind the offer. Or else you can cry discrimination and you'd win. Once they've given you an offer, negotiate.
Very good. So all those who are looking for jobs, I hope this is helping you. And if you're in a position, you've been there more than 3 years, there's no growth, you go to your boss, you say, listen, I need a promotion. And remember, Crystal, you and I were speaking, and I was saying that sometimes we look to say, well, what do they expect from us? But how about what do I have to give that they are not even aware that I can add to the plate that can help this company along? And therein lies something to negotiate on right there. Yeah. So, the thing about it is that we've got to know our strengths and know our weaknesses as well. Because when we know what our weaknesses are, there's room for improvement. Don't you think, Crystal? I mean, and so, I do hope that, that this episode we've learned something from it. We've learned new terminologies like constructive discharge. We've learned, that not to be in a place, because when you think about it, especially once COVID came in, we realize how truly fleeting life is. We also realize how valuable life is. And we realize that what we value, So really, it's that we are all worth something, our time, our gifts, our talents. We have families. And so we have to know what where we're at, what are we getting from our jobs? Is it serving? Is it fulfilling? And instead of, so many people are frustrated about where they are. And if you're not, as Crystal said, it's true. We may think that there aren't jobs there, but there are jobs. And for some folks, they have resigned their positions and they've created businesses. Not saying that it's for everybody, but what you're all about. What you've been given to. Some folks are helping companies to run and not being compensated for it, doing the brunt of the work. So, So anyway, ladies, we're coming to the end of the session. So what some folks are helping companies. Oh, oh, oh.
That was
Okay.
me. That was me. Sorry.
I'm sorry. So I would like to ask in summation, where are we? What do you have? What word do you have to, in closing, like what would you like to impart, to a parent? It's Women's Month, well, the month of, we're women every day, all day though, right? Aren't we? However, being that in the month of March, they've allowed this to, so what advice or word of encouragement do you have, would you like to impart, you know? And I must say thank you, Miss Love and Crystal and Kamali. And but go ahead. Go ahead.
I will say that women, you are an asset, a valuable asset to any business and organization. Please do your homework, ask for your worth, and
Mm,
and don't be afraid to walk away.
mm,
I've heard some people say that I don't put my picture on LinkedIn because I don't want them to know I'm Black and I'm female. Also, I won't be called. I leave my picture there because if you see me and you don't want me, keep going.
that's right.
Please,
That's right.
no,
That's right. That's
don't,
right.
I don't want, like you said, I don't want that experience where I show up and oh, you know, or, there's so many ways to discriminate against,
Yeah, that's
people. Um,
that's
so, just please know your worth, do your homework, do not settle, and always, keep looking for that next thing and advocate for your children.
yes. Thank you. Thank you. Kamali, go ahead, Kamali. I saw you put your
Yeah.
finger up.
Um, my advice would be to young women who are looking for jobs and maybe, or even thinking about what they want to pursue. And I think even if people might not think that a woman belongs in that field, go for it anyway. Pursue your passions. And also, if you're applying for a job and you are unsure if you check all the boxes, don't overthink it, just apply. So that's my advice.
Thank you, Deacon, Minister, uh, therapist. Oh, she doesn't
You
like
know,
that word.
right?
She doesn't like that word.
I'm not wearing that hat today.
Okay,
Wow.
oh, go ahead.
And on this slide.
Okay.
But my advice would be to women, Black women, we need to continue to think outside of the box, because it's been our history that we have not been included or even considered for a lot of things. Okay. So it's important that we continue to think outside the box, utilize your natural born creativity when applying for those jobs. Um, you know, if you check all the boxes, okay, that's good. If you don't check all the boxes, but you want that position and you know that you can be the best at holding that position, go for it anyway. Let them know what boxes that's not on that application that need to be there that you bring. So, and that takes creativity, and so utilize your creativity in whatever position you want to apply for. And if there's no a position that you can apply for, create your position. Okay, create your position, because we as women, we have invented and created for a very long time. Okay, and once we came on the scene, the whole game changed. So continue to be that game changer and create the position that you want. And if you decide that you don't want to work for an employer and you want to become your own employer, do that too. Do that too. Utilize that creativity to start your own business, or create some kind of partnership arrangement with someone else, so that these positions would be more readily available. Perhaps it's not for you to work for someone else, but it's for you to be an employer and create jobs and positions for others. Don't be afraid to do that either. In terms of what I would say to parents, particularly of little girls, but not excluding little boys, let them know that how great they are. Help your child understand and notice what their strengths are and what their not so strong points are. Okay, so that from a child, so that they can work on those things, and develop those gifts, those skills. Also, encourage your child to grow to understand who they are and why they are who they are. Everyone, God made all originals. He made each of us individually original, but even he's looked at his work and said it is good. Okay, and so encourage your child to learn about themselves, study themselves, and discover the greatness within themselves, because we all have greatness within us. We do. I think that too many times, parents nowadays, and even our young people, we look at the celebrities and the people that's on in social media, and the famous people, and we try to pattern ourselves after that person. It's okay to be inspired by those people, but those people took time out to discover the greatness that's within them, and that's why you see it. So I would encourage parents to encourage your child to discover their own personal greatness. Parents, you study your children so that you can see what their greatness is as well, and give them everything that they need that you can possibly provide to nurture that greatness so that it will be something wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Love. I love that. I love everything you guys have said. Thank you so much. I want to share this with you guys before we go. But before I say that, I want to say to the audience, those who are watching or whenever you see this video, if you like it, make sure you share with your friends. And also, if you have questions or anything, guys, if you have questions or anything that you would like for us to discuss, let us know. You can put it in the chat, and we'll go back and revisit and we'll be in touch with you guys. Okay, so for now I'd like to read this quote to you. In February of 1946, um a quarterback, as he received his trophy, he said that they say behind every great man there's a great woman. While I'm not a great man, there's a great woman behind me. So that was what he said. Now, in order for that woman to have been a great woman, she had to have grown up, been taught. They said, train up a child. So everyone heard what Mrs. Love said, a mother of 5 mighty men of valor. And, I have male children as well as female. So, however, as we're talking about disparities in women and our female children, because it's expected that the male, and then it's expected that the white male over the black male. And and nowadays you see people caring more about animals than they do about folks. So we have to instill the value in our children as parents, and as youth growing up, we have to know, as Crystal said, our worth, and as Kamali encouraged, and Mrs. Love encouraged. Now, I want to say this to you. I'm a Christian Black mother. So let me just read this quote, because we quote everybody, so I'm going to quote someone. Okay, Bible. It says, and the Lord God said, it is not good that man should be alone. I will make to him an helpmeet for him. And now, folks will say, what? God made a helper for the man, the wife, she's a helper. No, the word that the Lord used is ezer or ezer. And that word means strength. It means rescue. So when he created women, he created us to be strong. We're actually warriors, in case you weren't aware. We're really not weak. We're the fairer sex, not the weaker sex, really. If you go to the Bible and study, there is strength. We're really strong. We're stronger than we know, for many of us. See, some of us, we're taught that as young girls growing up, we know that we're strong, but some we do not know. And so we allow ourselves to be taken disadvantage of. But I want to suggest, women, whether you're married or you're single, whether you're young or you're old, you're never too old to recognize that there is strength in you. You are strong, whether you're at home or you're in your workplace. It doesn't matter what profession you're in, what you're studying in school. And as Kamali said, go for it. If that is what God has placed inside of you, you go for it, and for Deacon, Mrs. Love, I love to say Deacon Love, Reverend Minister, the thing about it is, we have to recognize what's within our children. And most times we want our children to be what society say they ought to be. But how about just asking God, well, who is this child that you've blessed me with? And we'll know, we see what their propensity is towards. Like I remembered when Kamali was growing up, like my second son, who was just here, my first son started talking. 7 months. And I kid you not. And no one would believe that the child was 7 months. As doctor had to, one day a mother literally went into the doctor and asked the doctor to come out and ask her, how old is that baby? Because our children were seeing the same, she was a white mom, but she asked the doctor, she said, well, how old is because I told her the baby was 7 months. She didn't believe me. And the doctor said, yes, he is. But that's what happened. My second son started standing at 1 month. 2 months. And by 6 months, he is coming off the bed and going. And that one, she was counting numbers was her thing, right? And I don't mean she was counting 1, 2, 3. She could show you 3 fingers if that's 3, 4 fingers if that's 4. Folks were like, "You're lying. That's not her age." One person demanded I show her birth certificate. Well, I don't have to verify that. Her sister did verify it because the sister was there, but I'm not going to go to that level. But I'm just saying we see things in our children, and so they're creative or they have the desire. And listen, let us listen to our children, because sometimes we underestimate our children. I remember there was a young man and everybody used to tell him, "Oh, you're stupid, you're stupid, you're stupid." He is such a brilliant doctor today. But you know what?
Wow.
He used to talk about the body. He was into science. When he explained science, human biology, you were thinking, wait a minute, what? So do not underestimate. Let us listen. So I encourage you, children, learn all you can. Uh, and if you know God, trust him. Keep asking him, and he will direct your path. There is Proverbs 3 says, "Lean not to your own understanding, in all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path." It is true. It is a proverb, and it comes from God. So I want to thank everyone for joining, and I do pray that you learned a lot. I want to thank you, Mrs. Love. I want to thank you, Mrs. Collier. I want to thank you, Ms. Vernon. Thank you very much. For all those who watched or will watch, wake the nation and tell the people. This is our first airing, but it's certainly not our last. So look forward to the next topic that we'll bring to you. And we look forward to your comments. We look forward to your response. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a wonderful night. Enjoy. I think some people might be watching the award, but go ahead and enjoy yourselves and have a wonderful week coming up. And if you're dissatisfied where you're at in your job, you can do something about it. The power is in your hands. Thank you very much. Have a good night. We love you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye, good night. Thank you.
Thank you for
Bye.
inviting me.
You're welcome. Thank you all for coming along on this
You
ride.
ladies are great. Thank
So
you
you
for
Are you?
sharing this experience with me.
Thank you. I thank all of you.